Thanks for your patience, everybody. We're just letting them check in the last of the documents. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the City of East Point's Medical Marijuana Committee. It is Wednesday, March 9th. It is just, 2:17 right now. Thankfully, these ladies are very organized because the release form that we were requesting did not have a space for the applicant entity name, so I think we have it all organized. Couple of things before we start. We do not have a court reporter here today, so we will be relying on the video that's being live streamed right now, as well as the microphone. So we need anybody who's speaking, make sure the microphone is on if you're up to speak, and one person at a time so that it can be, the court reporters can transcribe the meeting minutes from the video. Thankfully, we have our new system in. So start of the meeting, call the roll. Mr. Blum?
Present.
Mr. Sage?
Present.
And I am Kim Homan. And we have Richard Albright, the city attorney, with us, as well as the clerk's department here. Agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to add unfinished business for common citizens in the check issue they had last time. I'll second that.
Okay. As it relates to the approval of the agenda as modified, Mr. Blum? Mr. Sage?
Yes.
And I approve also. Is there anybody here who has not already submitted documentation to either the clerks or the city attorney Because if that's the case, we'll have you come up and present it right now. I think we'll start with that. So if you would tell us who you are representing, and then you can present it to the clerks, please. Make sure, is the microphone on? Little green light, like 3 inches up? There's a little button. Right.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. Jen Zielinski with Common Citizen. I do have a new check. As it was discovered, there was a technical incomplete error on the MICA, or have to provide today on behalf of Common Citizen.
Randy, do you want to see the letter, or you want Rich to review it?
Here.
Okay, let's give that to Rich.
Can I give copies to, I have copies.
Oh, thank you.
Are there any questions? No.
I will let you know, we do not have the original check. We got the electronic image back, so I don't have an original check to return to you on the defective one.
Will the bank be providing that check back, or?
I think with the electronic banking, probably not.
Is there a way that we can contact the city's bank to see if that is returned to our financial institution and/or
Okay.
back to
I'll
the?
follow up with
Would we be able to find that out? I know that they would like the check returned so that we can clear it with our bank.
Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good.
Madam Chairperson, I've had a chance to review the letter that was presented by the applicant's representative. It's a check, or a letter rather, from Level One Bank, it's dated March 7th, 2022. It's regarding check number 60752, and it reads, to whom it may concern, on January 19th, 2022, check number 60752 payable to the City of East Point was returned due to an issue with the MICR line of the check. This technical issue caused the check return and was not the applicant's issue. The check funds were available, and had the correct MICR information been submitted, the check would have cleared. Thank you, Maria Vishoni, VP Treasury Management Officer, on behalf of Level One Bank. So that letter appears to be in order and satisfactory.
Okay. Motion?
It was a replacement check provided? Okay. I'll make a motion to accept the replacement check.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Blum?
Aye.
Mr. Sage?
Yes.
And I say yes also. Thank you very much. Okay. Does anybody else have the release forms that were not already turned in? Okay, ladies, how do you want to do this? Or you want to check it off? Yeah, bring it up here and I'll go through. I'll read them off.
Are you going to read the names of the
Yes.
individuals?
I love you. Thank you very much. Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, applicant number 2, the Exhibit Cannabis Company LLC. And inside we have 2 signed, original signed and notarized releases.
Do we want to enter the names of those individuals into the
Oh, that's a good
record?
idea. Sure. So I have Mark Aubrey and Anthony Bacco, notarized.
Need a motion?
You want to do one by one, or you want to do,
We'll do one by one if you want.
okay.
So I'll make a motion for applicant number 2, Exhibit Cannabis, that 2 background questionnaires are received.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Blum,
Yes.
and I say yes. Applicant number 3, Hayes Cannabis. I have signed from Calvin Patah, Clint Patah. I think I have another one for, the earlier one. Another one from Clint Patah, and then I have a certification of authorization. Please accept this written certification authorizing the city of East Warren to perform a background check on each stakeholder and employee. Sorry. Motion? So there's
Second
two
one.
signed,
Is it blanket one?
yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion for applicant number 3, Hayes Cannabis, that we have one background questionnaire and one blanket,
2. Oh,
and one blanket questionnaire for,
two applicants and one blanket.
okay, 2 applicants and one blanket for applicant number 3, Hayes Cannabis.
Second.
Mr. Sage,
Yes?
Mr. Blum.
Yes.
Okay, I have applicant number 5, Holistic Health Wayne, Inc. I have, I think it's, and I apologize in advance, Nadal Seer, I think it is, Ceer. Richard Rosen. Oh, and I have, again, they provided, again, the same one, Nadal. Savannah Asdell. Mark Schmier, Schmier, Schmier?
You got it.
Trying not to, and I believe the rest of these are copies of the same. Yes, these are the originals. So that is one, oh, there's, look for the typing, Kim. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and then this is on behalf of Holistic Health Wayne. So, four individuals in the applicant entity.
So I'll make a motion for applicant number 5. There are 4 individual background questionnaires and one applicant entity.
To accept them.
Sorry?
To accept them.
To accept them, I'm sorry.
Second.
Mr. Sage?
Yes.
Mr. Blum?
Yes.
And I say yes. Applicant number 6, Jars Ventures. Okay. I have Hani Kassab Jr., I have Mandy Garmo, and then I have Hani Kassab Jr. on behalf of Jars Ventures LLC. So there's 2 individuals and the applicant entity.
I'll make a motion for applicant number 6, Jars Ventures. There are 2 questionnaires, to accept 2 questionnaires and one applicant entity.
Second.
Mr. Sage?
Yes?
Mr. Blum?
Yes.
And I say yes. Number 7, 989 Ventures. I have Nicholas Hanawa on behalf of himself at 989 Ventures LLC. And then I have written certification of authorization. This letter constitutes written certification that the signed and notarized authorization, which is attached, authorizes the city to perform background checks on each stakeholder and employee of 989 Ventures LLC. And then also includes his own authorization of background check.
Okay, I'll make a motion for applicant number 7, 989 Ventures, to accept one application for background and one applicant entity.
Second.
Mr. Sage?
Yes?
Mr. Blum?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Number 8, Attitude Wellness. Emails? Okay, I have a authorization signed and notarized Douglas Hellier for Attitude Wellness LLC. And then I have an authorization for background investigation, the undersigned president managerial employee of Attitude Wellness, doing business as Loom Canada, states that the accompanying City of East Point form authorization for background authorizes the city to perform background check on each stakeholder employee as required by the East Point Code of Ordinances. So it's one for the applicant entity and then an authorization for
One and one.
one and one.
I'll make a motion for applicant number 8, Attitude Wellness, that we receive and accept one background application and one applicant entity application.
Second.
Mr. Sage,
Yeah.
Mr. Blum,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Applicant number 9, Moses Rose's Shark Tail, Inc. Okay, I have the authorization signed by the applicant. It's Joseph Aiello as president of Shark Tail, Inc. I have written certification by applicant, hold on, I have the list. Yes, 9 as well as the applicant themselves, the applicant entity.
Make a motion for applicant number 9, Moses Rose's Shark Tail, Inc., to accept 9 applicants for background and the applicant entity.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Sage?
Yes.
Mr. Blum?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Applicant number 10, Common Citizen. So we have authorization for background investigation signed Michael Elias, Joseph Jarvis, Shady Zaki, Dennis Zoma. So I have 4.
Do you have an applicant entity also, or just the 4?
I think it's the 4.
Applicant entity was in the original application.
Thank you.
We can provide that if you'd like.
Good.
Okay, so I'll make a motion at this time to accept the 4 applicants, the 4 individual applicants, and we'll have to verify the applicant entity at a different time.
And this is for number 10, Common Citizen.
Yes, I'm sorry. So let me rescind, let me change that. I'll make a motion for applicant number 10, Common Citizen, to accept the 4 individual applicants for background.
Second.
Mr. Sage?
Yes.
Mr. Blum?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Would you like me to approach with the applicant confirmation just so we can settle it?
Do you want it?
We'd have to just take it now versus digging through the packet.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to verify it's in the packet.
Yeah, true. Okay.
But
So
we
no.
we did go through all of those. We did verify this on the checklist, so it would have been in the packet. It was just, the question came up whether it was just the applicant or whether it was, then the language was stakeholder employees.
I think for the purposes of right now, we'll just accept what's been submitted, and we can verify
Sounds
the
good.
other.
This is for applicant number 14, Agronomod. This is correspondence, oh, here we go. There is signed and notarized for Edward Santangelo. I hope I said that right. Damian McKinney. And then the notary, and then Shirley Jane Yanez. So I have 3.
Three individuals?
For number 14.
I'll make a motion for applicant number 14, Cronmod, to accept the 3 individual applicants for background.
Second.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Blum,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Couple more. Okay. Thank you guys for organizing all of this. Applicant number 15, BRT Capital, Capital 2 LLC. Oh, I have originals, Brian Toma. Sorry. Then the written certification by applicant, written certification within the meaning outlined in the correspondence from Richard Albright, in lieu of providing signed authorization for background for each stakeholder employee. BRT Capital II LLC provides this written certification certifying the city is authorized to perform a background check on each BRT Capital II LLC stakeholder employee. And that is signed and notarized by Brian Toma. And then these are other copies, okay.
Got one and one?
So, Brian Toma, well, it's one and then the whole,
Blanket. Yep. All right, I'll make a motion for applicant number 15, BRT Capital II LLC, to accept the one background questionnaire and the applicant entity.
Second?
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Blum,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Good thing you guys aren't changing the order up, I might get lost.
Let him do it. Got a pattern now.
Applicant number 18, Candid Labs LLC. I have a release of information for Ramon Hanna that's signed and notarized.
Mine should be in there as well, sorry to interrupt. It was sent by certified mail, but I do have it in here today, too, just in case.
Yeah,
That one was dropped off.
Okay, ma'am, just a moment,
yeah,
please. You don't have a microphone over there? Just a moment.
we'll have her come up to the, yeah. Would you please? Okay, what were you going to say? Nick?
No, I don't even know if there's a question yet. We're just gonna receive what we have.
Sure.
If there's a question, then we'll go from there.
Just in case, do you guys want mine as well?
No, we'll just do this right now.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
No?
You're good?
So we have the one right now, Ramon Hanna.
All right, so I'll make a motion for applicant number 18. We have, we'll receive one background questionnaire.
Second?
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Blum,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, let's get through this. Applicant number 19, Main Property Holdings. So I have a letter from the attorney, Mike Bahora, and I have, it's Nassim Nick Isaac. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Nassim Isaac, same. And I don't know if that's the same person or if there's two different people by that name.
So you have two individual,
The names are similar. One has Nick in parentheses, but the signatures don't look to be. So it looks like it may be two people, actually. Both who should be doctors based on that signature.
looks to me like one is typed and one is printed.
Okay, so back to the attorney letter, it says that it is background investigation from Nassim Nick Isaac. Mr. Isaac is the sole member of applicant entity Main Property Holdings. He is the only person that should be required to execute this form, but you may also use this letter as authorization to conduct background checks on employees in the future, should the company be awarded a marijuana license in the city. So it is one individual.
Okay.
Oh, he's got it.
It's one of those word-generated signatures.
Ah,
You good for a motion? motion on that one?
Yes, please.
All right, so I'll make a motion for applicant number 19, Main Property Holdings LLC, to receive one application for background and one applicant entity.
Second.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Blum,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Applicant 21, Royal Highness. I have signed authorization for background on Tariq Jawad. And then I have a certification for background investigation. I, Tariq Jawad, member and authorized agent of Royal Highness, here to certify and give consent and authorization to the city to perform a background check on each stakeholder and an employee of applicant in conjunction with the applicant's pending application for a medical marijuana provisioning center permit. So it's one and an authorization for all.
I'll make a motion for applicant number 21, Royal Highness LLC, that we received one application for background, one applicant entity as well.
That was me.
Second.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Blum,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So that's everything that I have, that we received. Okay. So one of the things we did not do was go through, we did not reopen the applications to go through and see if, so we're going to assume that if it's not here, it would have to be in the packet.
I know the one applicant addressed that question. I believe that he said he had a copy with him, and he also represented that the original was included with the initial application.
Okay.
I don't recall the name of the applicant. Common Citizen.
I would submit at this time, if there's any discrepancies of missing documents, we'll have to address that at a later time, rather than go back and look. So not recognizing either side of that at this time, just receiving what we have today and moving forward.
Madam Chairperson, is there anybody in the audience that hasn't been recognized during the selection process that has their authorization forms that would like to present them at this time?
Please.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Jerome Crawford on behalf of RJB Enterprises, DBA Pleasant Trees Cannabis Company. I believe we're applicant number 11 or 12. We submitted to Attorney Albright yesterday, and we spoke just before the meeting. Does that need to be put into the record, the certification? If not, we also have the physical copy that we prepared and to bring in as well.
I would just present it to the committee this afternoon.
Glad to do it.
I would acknowledge I did receive an email yesterday from the applicant's representative, and I also replied to that email.
On my approach.
Do you want to give it to them, or?
Thank you.
Kim, that's fine.
Thank you very much. So this is actually, you were right, applicant number 11, RJB Enterprises, Pleasant Trees Cannabis Company. And yes, it is a letter addressed to Mr. Albright, a nice long letter. Okay. Letter in response to your February correspondence issued regarding the city's requirements associated with the authorization for background investigation. On February 7th, Pleasantry submitted a letter on a related issue to completely certify that the city is authorized to perform background checks on each member of the parent company that wholly owns Pleasantry's Emerald Growth Partners. Each member of the entity that is a natural person has already agreed that Pleasantries has the right to grant such authorization by proxy. A copy of the February 7th letter is attached. In your correspondence, Mr. Albright, you provided further context regarding the city's requirement for authorization. You noted each applicant must provide authorization for the applicant, each stakeholder, and employee. It is understood that a written certification stating same will suffice. I formally certify that the city is authorized to perform a background check on each stakeholder employee of Pleasantries and its parent company, EGP, by virtue of the authorization signed and submitted with the application. So Exhibit A, February 7th, and attached to it, authorization for background investigation, Randall Buckman, manager of Emerald Growth Partners, its manager. So let me, how do you just look at this real quick? Boy, you're so wordy.
For context, those are just excerpts of the operating agreement that were included with the previous correspondence we sent Attorney Albright for completion.
Did you want the other committee members to look at it?
Rich is good, I'm good.
So how many individuals do we have here? We have to count them. So let me do
Yeah,
the
go-
motion the right way.
It's just the, on behalf of the entity, on behalf of applicant, those are just excerpts from the operating agreement. So it'll still be just one applicant and one individual certifying on behalf of the entire applicant, its employees, and stakeholders.
I see it's a members list.
Begin that or go through the ones that didn't submit anything new and get those pulled, and how do we want to proceed?
Yes, so this is one part that may take some time, the background checks, and those will go over to PD. The clerks can go into storage and pull the ones that were not checked off today. And then those will go, and then the next step would be to start the review of the applications themselves. The three of us will be reviewing. They are very thick, so we will be reviewing individually. We are not discussing this with each other. We will be reviewing and putting together our scoring and then our questions. And then, assuming this is going to take a couple of months, we will then schedule another meeting or series of meetings. And then at that point, we will come out and start the discussions based on what each of us found or reviewed.
And all of the applicants will receive a letter from our office with the date and time for those committee meetings to be scheduled in the future.
Yes, we will schedule them well in advance, so everybody has sufficient. They will, again, be on Wednesday afternoons. It seems to work for everybody here.
How much time do you recommend? Do you want to get at least 14 or 21 days' notice to allow the applicants, once they receive the letter from our office, then enough time to prepare for whatever presentation they want to make?
Well, yes, we want to do that. Do we want to do,
Just how many days do you want to allow for the notice to go out?
and then do you want a presentation by each applicant as we review? Or do you want to review,
Well, I would think we'd want to start our discussion on scoring before we have any presentations. I mean, I'm not even sure why we would want a presentation.
well,
We're
also,
supposed to base it on the application.
Not necessarily a presentation, but just perhaps hearing from the applicant, just indicating who they are in case the board has any, or the committee has any questions.
that was what I was going to say, is that we may have questions. So, yes. And assuming that it will take, we're not going to do all of them in one day. No.
And do you want to limit the time for that Q&A process?
Well, I think as many questions as we have
Yeah,
would
it would
be
depend
answered,
on how
but
many
then,
questions we
but
have.
then I think maybe that we would let, a 5-minute presentation, something like that.
And I would think 14 days' notice is sufficient.
Yeah. And we'll, again, go in order. I think you have everything stored in order, don't you? Okay? Anything else? You guys are all set with everything? I'll get that from you. Okay. Actually, I'm going to give these to you guys, and with the list, so then you can pull, tomorrow, can pull the rest of them, and then we can get the originals over to the police department. Okay? Answer any questions?
Was one of those letters officially entered into the record from?
You read it. You read it.
I read it, but is there an actual document that can be entered in the record if you want to just take this one?
Thank you. Okay, somebody had a question? Please. Yes, please. Just so,
Thanks, committee. Just a quick question. My name is Zach Learman on behalf of 989 Ventures. And Blaze, just for my clarification, do you anticipate any other meetings between now and this scoring presentation meeting? Like, it might change, but at this point, is that the next step official, like, from your perspective? Presentation meeting, like now, and presentation meeting, there's no other application review, whether they're complete or not, in between now and then?
I don't think so unless we would come up with something that we would need to have.
Something different,
some- Yeah, and
Or-
in which case, again, we would give sufficient notice if we needed advice from
Of course.
city council or.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks.
We do come across the original check.
Would you like that on the record, or would you like that after?
No, just, drop it off to me after the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, we're done then?
yeah.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Mr. Blum,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
and yes. Thank you all very much for your patience. Thank you, ladies, so much for the organization.